Welcome to Season 2 of Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and false hope collide nightly, like a Masataka Yoshida ground out to second. We break down every loss, every meltdown, and the occasional win, with sarcasm, facts, and no front office spin. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com, or keep wondering how a wild card team spent an entire offseason avoiding power hitters. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I am your host tonight, Jim Dalfino. And folks, I got to be honest, hosting this show right now feels like being the captain of the Titanic, except instead of an iceberg, it's just Trevor Story swinging through another fastball and me steering directly into it like, yeah, this seems fine. I watch this wretched team every night like it's going to magically improve, like a guy microwaving leftovers expecting it to taste like a 5-star steak. Joining me tonight is Nick Face. Nick, who watches this team like a man personally offended by every Red Sox at-bat. He's not analyzing the game, he's filing complaints. Every strikeout is a crime, every ground out is a betrayal, and this 1-5 record, that's his villain origin story. Nick's pacing around like a manager with no players he actually likes. This roster stinks. This lineup stinks. This approach stinks. At this point, the only thing Nick hasn't criticized is the foul pole. But give him until Friday. He'll get there. Also joining me tonight is John Martinello. John, who watches this offense like a man waiting for a bus that's never coming. Just standing there, optimistic, slowly losing faith in humanity. At this point, John's Martinello Minute is going to be about 67 seconds of silence, followed by him whispering, they struck out again. And finally joining us tonight is Thayer Doyle, the most level-headed guy on the panel, which is hilarious because even Thayer right now is probably sitting home diagramming fundamentals like, okay, step 1, make contact. Thayer's breaking down mechanics like he's a high school coach, while the Red Sox are out here playing like it's a group project no one prepared for. Let's get into it. Your Boston Red Sox are now 1-5 on the season and just got swept by the Astros like they were crumbs on the floor of a restaurant Houston actually cares about. And today, same story, different inning, same disaster. They actually scored first. Would you believe that? A little hope. Jarren Duran gets on, Yoshida walks, and Wilson Contreras drives in a run. You're thinking, all right, maybe this is the night. Yeah, that lasted about as long as a typical New Year's resolution because immediately the Astros respond. Doubles, errors, more sloppy plays. Suddenly it's 2-1 Houston before you can even sit down with your drink. And then the Red Sox tie it 2-2. And what do they do after that? Absolutely nothing. Zilch, gone. We're talking strikeouts, weak contact, runners stranded like they missed the team bus. Meanwhile, the Astros are just waiting, lurking, like a team that knows exactly when you're about to screw up. And then it happens. Carlos Correa, remember that guy who couldn't play baseball anymore because he had some kind of injury that was going to take his life? 3-run bomb, game over. Just like that, 2-2 turns into 5-2, and you can feel it, that deflating, soul-crushing, yeah, this one's done energy. Oh, and don't worry, they added another homer later just to make you really feel it. Red Sox tried to make it look respectable late. Abreu hits a home run. Roman Anthony with his first home run in the 9th inning. But that's what this team does right now. Cosmetic runs. They don't win games. They just make the box score look like it wasn't embarrassing. Final score, 6-4 Astros. Series Astros sweep. And here's the reality nobody wants to say out loud. This isn't just one bad game. This is a bad team playing bad baseball for 5 straight games. The offense disappears for innings at a time. The pitching gives up momentum like it's a charity. And the defense? Oh, yeah, errors right on schedule. This series wasn't even competitive. It was a slow-motion beatdown. And now you're sitting at 1-5, already looking up at the division, wondering how early is too early to start saying, this might be a problem. Spoiler alert, it already is a problem. So here we are, 6 games in, already exhausted, already frustrated, already questioning life's choices. And the Astros, they just walked in, handled business, and left like it was batting practice. And Nick, it's time for the word of the day.
And now it's time for Nick Face's Word of the Day!
Unprepared. That's exactly what this team has been for many, many years. But to start it off this season, you are now 1-5. This is the worst start for the Red Sox since 2019, the season after the championship was won. We've talked about the problems ad nauseum. We've talked about how there's so many fundamentally awful players on this team right now. And you have to figure out how this team is going to win games. Crochet was on the mound today. When we did our show last on Sunday, Jim, you asked the question to both John and myself, including you, what do we think is going to happen this 3-game series against the Astros? And I said, Houston, Houston, Houston. And then we jumped down to John. And then they came back to me. And I told you exactly what I'm going to say again. You can't even win a crochet start on this team because you can't win baseball games with your lineup that you have, with your team that you have, for me to sit here in this seat and feel comfortable saying this team is going to win a ball game. Will they win a ball game this season again? Sure. But right now, when the going gets tough, especially when your competition is far superior than you and more prepared, you will get the L. And that's exactly what happened in this 3-game set against the Astros. You saw a major league team, being the Astros, versus a T-ball team in the Red Sox. Now, where did things go wrong this series? You could really go anywhere you want. I don't want to say I'm as concerned on pitching. I do think that department will get itself figured out. What I'm screaming off Mount Everest with right now is our lineup, our fundamentals, our mental miscues. I feel like a broken record, and I think you guys are going to say the same. We say the same thing. We say, not ready, not prepared, don't know how many outs there are, don't know what's going on. This is your Red Sox yet again. It is officially time, if you have not already asked for a change in leadership, and you're still sitting there having confidence and feeling good that they'll turn the tides and everything will be okay. I just don't know how you can tell yourself that without lying to yourself. Alex Cora has to go, guys. He has to go. Pete Fatsi, he should have been gone in 2021, and yet he's still here. You have Breslow as your GM, who is, in my opinion, worse than Chaim Bloom. I'm going to say it. He's worse than Ben Sherrington. And then you have your owner, who is licking ice cream cones with Linda out somewheresville, USA, all happy as a clam because his billions keep cashing. The current state of the Red Sox, well, they're probably back in Boston now after their flight home from Houston, and they have opening day here at Fenway Park. Interestingly enough, the San Diego Padres are coming to town. And you know what I'm cheering for on Friday? The return of Don Orsillo. Don's back home, guys. And that is the last time I felt good about the Boston Red Sox, is when Don Orsillo was your voice of the Red Sox. I will be watching, naturally, the Padres feed for this series. That is where the current state of the Red Sox is for me right now. I am not a happy camper in the least bit, and I think the worst is still yet to come.
Oh, there's no question it's going to get worse. Tonight's word of the day is brought to you by the Red Sox early season excuses, makers of It's Only 6 Games bumper stickers, blindfolds, and standings watching. and industrial strength copium for anyone still calling this a cold start instead of a bad baseball team. And now I want to turn it over for the Martinello Minute.
And now the part they don't want said out loud. No spreadsheets or corporate spin, just the truth, raw and impatient. This is the Martinello Minute.
Sad Sox are officially back. The Celtics, on the other hand, they're playing the most beautiful brand of basketball I think I've ever seen in my life right now. So got my Celtics hat on tonight. But getting swept in Houston is one thing. But getting humiliated back-to-back nights and then trotting out whatever the hell that lineup was today is just, I tweeted it out earlier, it's just malpractice. I don't know how you could get 2 nights in a row, just get your asses handed to you, and then on just a day where you have your ace on the bump, you could salvage the series, you bench the best player on your team, you still have your hottest hitter hitting 5th in the lineup, and then whatever the hell happened with Carlos Narvaez, there's reports that are saying a bunch of different things right now, so I don't want to say, I don't want to put anything out there that might not be true, but he got benched or scratched about an hour or so before the game. And, at least Connor Wong still thinks it's 2024 for some reason, and he's hitting the baseball, because if he had another 0 for 4 strikeout day, that I would have lost my mind. But, it's really bad when the highlight of a series is Kevin Millard shutting up for 2 seconds in the booth. And it stinks right now. Obviously,
Cowboy up, boy.
1-5 to start the year. They what was it? First time since 2019 they've been that bad to start a year. We know how that season went, but it's just a deflating series with a deflating lineup, deflating effort. Bayo pitched, actually. I thought he pitched a lot better than what the final line on him said. But again, like, about as bad as the season could start, and after another offseason of getting spoon-fed by the media and by the Red Sox themselves that this team's a contender, like, it's just not fun. But obviously we're all still gonna watch the games, unfortunately. But the worst part about this roster is that I really believed that they were going to come out guns firing, especially after the World Baseball Classic, from an offensive standpoint. But I'm not going to sit here and say that this team's only going to win 70 games, even though it's pretty hard right now to say otherwise than that. But if I were to say that, like, it's just, I'd just be lying through my teeth. But, that's really all that I got right now. Yeah, Connor Wong, I guess, is good at baseball again.
Well, John, I mean, out of all the guys from the WBC, you hit the nail on the head with Abreu. I mean, he's carried it over. He was really good in the WBC, and he's been arguably our best hitter so far, and he had a great start last year too. He had like 10 RBIs the first week or something crazy like that. But we're riding his coattails right now, so I just don't know what's going to happen. But the ship better change pretty quickly. Tonight's Martinello Minute is brought to you by the Boston Middle of the Order Escape Room, where Trevor Story, Masataka Yoshida, and Wilson Contreras lock themselves inside a high-leverage inning and spend 45 minutes trying not to do any damage. I want to turn it over, and it's time for the third strike.
And now, it's time for the third strike with Thayer.
Before I get into it, I just want to confirm that what everybody's been saying is true. But one thing we have to understand is this is not the Red Sox that most of our sort of fans have understood for the last 20-something years. The years of Theo Epstein and this ownership spending money and looking to be like the new evil empire is over. We are going back to the 70s into the 80s, where they are simply concerned about cost cutting and saving money, and not even saving money because they're spending it, but they're spending it poorly. They're spending it in ways that will benefit them the most. We've talked about all of these contracts they're giving to people to rehab. so they can get insurances, so they can get those covered, so they can say they're spending money, but not actually be spending all of that money. They're probably spending 50 cents on the dollar. So one thing that we have to get used to here is we cannot expect this team to be those. John, you mentioned the Celtics. I'm going to steal from Patino. Ortiz is not walking through that door. Pedro is not walking through that door. Manny is not walking through that door. Heck, Xander Bogaerts is not walking through that door. And more importantly, nobody like Theo Epstein is walking through that door. So moving forward, and this is what we're going to have to do as we talk about this year, is understand that we cannot compare this team to what it was. We are no longer a top of the food chain, have all-stars or at least professional ball players at every position ready to go. The idea of platooning, we have to get used to it. We can't piss and moan about it, because if we're going to do, that's all we're going to do all season long. And we're going to complain about this guy or that guy. We are not going to get a lot of talented individuals out on the field beyond what we have now. And I'm sorry to tell you, we're relying on kids. Anthony is going to be a very good baseball player, but he's going to struggle. He is a rookie. He is not Fred Lynn. And to expect anything like a season that Fred Lynn gave you is not necessarily fair to this man. Marcelo Mayer is the same sort of thing. He's a guy, and this is going to be an interesting situation, that the Red Sox did not want to trade away because they felt he is going to be a key to this team. So they're not trading him for an all-star. Instead, they're benching him against lefties. Incredibly confusing, but it has to go with the money. So as we go through this year, we're going to have a lot of 1-5s. I think we're going to also have the opportunity, because they're not hideous ball players, we're going to have 5-1s, and it's going to go back and forth like it has the last couple of years. We're going to be sitting around 500. Maybe they make a move, maybe they don't. But I think moving forward, we're just going to have to critique what we have on the field. And what we saw these last 3 games just didn't cut the mustard. We had some decent pitching performances, but when you're dealing with an offense that lacks quality professional hitters 1 through 9, you are going to struggle to score runs, and that puts added pressure on your pitching staff, and that's what we've seen the last couple of days, and it's going to put pressure on your defense, which they're telling us all about this pitching and defense thing. I still struggle to think about if they actually put their players in the position to be the most successful. And that's going to be something we're going to have to talk about. And hopefully we can talk about the games and the performances and not just sort of go back and forth about how this team isn't spending, because they're not. They're just not going to do it. And we're just going to sort of just be spinning our wheels with the thoughts of this front office stinks. And that's just it. It's how it is. And we're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. One of the things that, I think it's important is if we want to go ahead and accept the fact that they're not going to spend the money on premium talent, the problem that I have is that they identify an issue where we need right-handed bats. And then to your point there, you said on other shows, they'll go ahead and they'll spend money on a guy like Ranger Suarez and throw him $150 million. But then they'll go cheap on the fact of what they really need, which is the right-handed power hitting bat. So out goes Bregman, out goes Pete Alonso, out goes Marte, any of these guys out goes Bichette, any of these guys that were possibly replacements or additions for this team. And so they just don't have, and I've said this before, for many, many years, if you follow me on Twitter, there's no direction to this team. They don't have a direction. I don't know what it is. Again, to your point, in the early 2000s, it was spend the money, bring in the premium talent, and so forth. Then it was like when those seasons are over, you get to the 2013 era, and it was like, well, let's go ahead and get, over the hill, and I use that term loosely, but blue-collar players, your Mike Napoli's, Mike Carp, Shane Victorino, those guys, and it worked. But then they thought they were the smartest people in the room and said, well, we don't need to spend, on the top tier talent. We can get this over the hill or B type talent. They tried that afterwards, and that didn't work. Then it was go back to spending. and that worked, but then they don't want to spend anymore. And then it turns into, well, let's go ahead and now sign guys that are young to team friendly deals. And they're starting to strike out on that with your Christian Campbells. And I'll even say it, Sedane Rafaela, which I think, although he's a daily player, he's not an upper echelon player. And he certainly didn't need to be signed to a long term deal at that point in his career. And so these are the things that keep changing over and over again. Let's draft better. No, let's develop hitters. No, let's not do that. Let's find hitters. Let's win trades. Let's try to fleece other organizations. And none of it's working. None of it is working. And they continuously destroy or kick in the can the players that made up this organization year in and year out by just trashing them on the way out the door, getting rid of Clemens, getting rid of Lester, getting rid of Bogarts and Devers and Betts, and it just, the list goes on and on and on and on. And they're more enamored by bringing in other people instead of actually rewarding, if you will, the own guys that came through their system. And it's not working, and it continues to fail. Tonight's Third Strike with Thayer is brought to you by the Houston Adult Baseball Academy, teaching the Red Sox the fundamentals of power, execution, and how not to look like a Little League team that got dropped off at the wrong field. I'm going to start with a few talking points tonight. Got a couple different new graphics here, at least for tonight. The Astros out-homered the Red Sox into the ground. Houston won Game 1 8-1 behind 4 homers, including 2 from Jose Altuve, who now has, I think, 748 career home runs against the Red Sox. In Game 2, they won 9-2 with Yordan Alvarez homering. In Game 3, of course, today, Carlos Correa's 3-run shot that killed. And Christian Vasquez added another one, who, honestly, I didn't even know he was back with Houston, to be honest with you. That's the series right there. The Astros got damage in chunks, while Boston kept trying to survive on singles and scattered runs. John, I'll start with you. The biggest problem with the Red Sox lineup that it has no real game-changing power, or is the bigger issue that the pitching staff keeps making one catastrophe mistake after another?
I think both things can be true at once. As far as the offense goes, I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. This team doesn't have the big thumper in the middle of the lineup like a Yordan Alvarez that every single time that he comes up to the plate, you get nervous. You lean back in your chair. Like we used to have that in Rafael Devers, and because of a disagreement between him and the front office, he's not here anymore. So you lost, you don't have the big thumper in the lineup. So any guys that are decent in the lineup, they have no protection around them, no real protection. Because I don't want to say that, whoever's hitting third doesn't have 2 decent bats around him. But from the pitching side, this was obviously an incredibly tough series. Ranger Suarez just didn't look great like he didn't when he came back from the World Baseball Classic, like he didn't when he was in the World Baseball Classic. As far as he goes, it's 1 start. I'm not going to get too overworked about it, but not encouraging to say the least in his Red Sox debut. As I said just a couple minutes ago, Bayo, I thought, looked actually really good. I think he generated, I think it was 18 whiffs, and he led the MLB in whiffs yesterday. So, he was getting the swing and miss. His velo was down a tick, but, I thought that his start was actually pretty encouraging, especially for the lackluster starts that he had during the spring. And then today I wasn't really able to watch it all because I was working, but it seemed as though that Garrett Crochet had the start like he does every time when he's been in Houston. I think he has like a 6.9 career ERA there. So just not a park that he does well in. But, to really answer your question, it's a little bit of the pitching. It's mostly the lineup that just right now isn't consistent whatsoever. And, if you want to get any positives out of the lineup, they're 3rd in the MLB in average exit velocity. They're 5th in the MLB in hard hit rate. So, take that for what it's worth. But when they do hit the ball, they're hitting it hard, which is great. But the biggest problem above all with them right now is that they have struck out 10 or more times in 4 out of the last 5 games.
So, I mean, is it just a question that the fact that they've been facing too good of pitching? Because, I mean, if you're telling me that they're making the contact, they're hard hitting, exit velocities, and all that, all those stats are showing positive, they're not scoring runs. So, is it just, there's stiff competition, or does this offense just stink?
It's inconsistency. I mean, they faced I could say that Andrew Abbott's a decent pitcher, but they won that game. And since then, they haven't faced anybody that scares you before a game starts. Hunter Brown obviously is a phenomenal pitcher, but I didn't think that he had his A game at all. But every single at bat, that entire game is 0-1, 0-2, ball 1, sweeper low and away, strike 3. And in my notes from the series, I wrote it down probably 6 to 8 times over the course of these games. The scouting report on the Red Sox batters has been the same for years. Throw high fastballs, expand the zone a little bit, and then throw a sweeper or slider, and you're probably going to get a strikeout. It's just frustrating, and as I said, it's deflating to watch.
Fair, similar question to you. Where do you find the blame right now? Is it the pitching staff making one, catastrophic mistake after another, or is it the fact that we just don't have any game-changing power?
Sort of like John said, is it the chicken or the egg? I think ultimately it's the offense. I think the offense puts unnecessary pressure on the pitching staff to be perfect, to go out there, and when you're, on the mound and you're trying to be perfect, that's when mistakes happen. For the most part, really the pitching hasn't been terrible. Weisert's really killed us twice. 2 of those 5 games he kind of came in and gave up a home run that cost us leads. And we're going to have what we had today. Early pitched all right. Bayo, like John said, pitched all right. I think he was, spinning the ball and doing what he had to do. I was a little worried that he kind of reverted back to 2024, 2023 Bayo, where he sort of lacked that mental fortitude to be resilient in a situation. He let it get away from him instead of shutting it down. But it's the offense. Their inability to really put the fear of God into anybody with a bat. Pitchers don't have to worry about it. They just have to come in and challenge it. And this goes back to all the analytics we've talked about. And anyone who's played baseball and things like that, certain, there is talent and then there is sort of training. And anybody who's watched anyone work in the cage with the coach, working T drills, they have the same robotic swing and it looks beautiful. But the minute you start putting anybody on the mound in front of them, their swing is on the same plane and the same level, but they can't make contact. And that's what the Red Sox are becoming, some sort of analytical demon where, and unfortunately, like John was saying, it's not only their approach at what they're going to swing at, it's up and down the lineup. They have the same kind of guys. So you have, all right, guess what, guys? Today we're taking a pitch. And everyone takes a pitch. The pitcher sees that, and they just pump strike 1. And then they start to move things around. Or today we're going to all swing at the first pitch. And there's no sort of variety in their approaches. They're all the same thing. And when you're basically facing the same opponent at bat after at bat after at bat, it's not easy, but it becomes a more certain approach that the pitcher can take to be effective. And that's what's killing this team.
Yeah, it's a good point. You could see how that was playing out too, just in these last, first 6 games where, one night they're swinging at, the first pitch, and then the next night they're not swinging. And of course, good teams are going to, analyze and figure that out, and they're going to adjust accordingly. The other part with the offense, we don't have Yordan Alvarez. That's a guy we need, and we don't have that kind of guy in that lineup that just puts that awful fear into your opponent. Ortiz, like you said, Ortiz and Manny are not walking through that door. Nick, your thoughts on this question?
I think this is the longest I've been quiet all week. My mic on? Hello? Everybody hear me now? Just checking. Okay, back on to scheduled stuff here. John, your point on number 3 in launch in baseball right now, correct? Is that the stat that you
Exit velocity.
spewed out? Exit velocity. Thank you. Well, that gets me to my point on launch angle and exit velocity. Can we please leave Pete Fatsy in Houston? Just leave him there, please, and get him out of my life, please, because I'm done with the Red Sox philosophy of hitting the ball hard and launching the F out of it out of a park. It doesn't mean jack shit, folks. It's got to change somehow because they can't go through another season with this. And the only way it changes, honestly, is if Fatsy and his barnyard are out of here. Because the entire team's approach when they go up to the plate is a system by Fatsy and crew. That's what's happening right here. And my biggest fear right now is that this whole philosophy and this buy-in approach of what they're spewing to these players, especially the ones that have just come up and are new or rookies or anything, I am concerned as all heck on Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony, just to name 2, because if Fatsy gets into these guys and starts tinkering and messing with their mechanics and swing just to get the ball out of the park, we are doomed. So I'd rather catch this early and be a fan here and tell you and use my voice to say, this is a problem. And until the Red Sox fix this problem, you're not going to hear the end of it from me. You're not. And if people don't like it from me telling you exactly how it is, move along, because this is what it is. It's been the problem since 2019. This is not the 2018 super team anymore. There's no more JD Martinez's, Xander Bogaerts, Mookie Betts. They're gone. Rafi Devers, bye-bye. They said sayonara to all of them, and now you're left with the cast-offs, if they're even cast-offs. It's something that has to change now. But I don't think the Red Sox have the balls enough to step in, ownership or Breslow or anything, to make a change. But I think a lot of this problems that we're seeing to start here this season 1 and 5 stem from Alex Cora and his staff. I think a lot of it is from that, but the main blame, of course, still comes from upstairs. It is still ownership that is number 1 on my blame pie. But Alex Cora has no more free passes in my book anymore. It's over. The team that you have on the field is a T-ball team, dude. I am sick and tired of hearing from media people and like Alex Cora has this get out of jail free card. Oh, he's a big believer in the little things. He's a big believer in making sure you have the best defensive metrics going on. He does all the little things right. He's a great manager. I could have managed the 2018 team and won a championship. Yes. Jim, you could have done the same. Fair. So could you. And John, you as well. He was inherited a team that was put together that was pure dominance. Were there some things that he probably did in season that helped? Sure. But was he the core reason why that team won a championship? Absolutely not. And I'm sorry. Alex Cora still, to this day, has that black cloud over him when it comes to cheating and being involved with scandals. So, I'm sorry. It is what it is. But Alex Cora, you're done in my book. You're done. You have shown me enough to know that this team is better off without you and your staff here anymore, because I am so fed up. I am so done with the product that we're seeing. It is waste management sewage right now. That's your team. I am disgusted, and it's a disgrace.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that we've been talking about for the last few years is that these prize prospects are coming, right? Mayer, Christian Campbell, Kyle Teal, Montgomery, so on and so forth. Even before that, Tristan Casas and so forth. No one's talking about the fact that the team that you're fielding right now and the way that it's constructed, you don't really hear a lot about what the future from this point looks like. In other words, outside of some minor leaguers like Arias and Tolley, there's no one on the horizon that kind of excites anybody. It's like it's all of a sudden the fuse is out. And my point is that we're running out of bullets. And I think what you see and what you have is going to be here a while because there's no other shining light coming up. They tried it with Campbell. He can't hit, he can't field now. And all these guys need a little bit more time. So it'll be interesting to see, but keep an eye on the minor leaguers, especially at AAA, because it's a ghost town down there as well. Moving on a little bit, because we're running out of some time. I just want to maybe put this one up here too. A lot of people online and on Twitter, I've had this argument a million times. It's early defense is already getting stressed. Again, now Boston 1-5, and this wasn't some fluky sweep full of one-run heartbreaks. Again, the Astros winning 8-1, 9-2, 6-4. That's not bad luck. That's one team looking organized and dangerous, and the other one looking like it's had to play perfect baseball just to hang around. So with this kind of a record, is this still, in anybody's mind, a small sample size? Or is this going to be what we're going to see moving forward the rest of the season? Thayer, I'll start with you.
I don't think it's going to be what we see all season long, but I think we're going to see snippets of it. It's because of what you're dealing with, like we've talked about. You have players like Anthony is an incredible hitter, but defensively, he's not a five-tool guy. He's not that player. He's a guy that can hit the ball. He'll be an offensive weapon for you. Can't run, so he'll do certain things. Everyone's been making him out to be Mike Trout and Fred Lynn. He is not. He can't do what they do on the opposite side of the field with the glove. So that's one aspect of it. Jarren Duran is an incredibly gifted athlete, but he's a moron on the baseball field. He has gifts galore, but doesn't know how to put them together all the time. So you're going to see streaks where he's confident and feeling good, and he's going to be great. And then there's going to be opportunities and days like today. Some of the swings he took today looked like he was trying to play Pepper with the third baseman instead of attacking the baseball. You have Durbin and Kiner Falefa and guys like that who are not everyday ball players that are expecting to be everyday ball players. You have Mayer, who may or may not be, an everyday shortstop, but he's a guy that this team is relying on and hitting him up in an order where he should be lower. It's just they're putting incredible amounts of stress and pressure on ball players that are not capable of producing 162 games a year. Heck, even the Stars struggle to produce 162 games a year. And that's sort of the problem. They're asking guys that are not capable of doing it to do it, and then we all get pissed at them when they can't do it. We shouldn't expect them to be able to do it. And that's part of the issue. So, yes, we are going to see streaks like this 1-5 multiple times this year. We're also going to see streaks like we saw last year where they felt like world beaters and things were going great and Duran was wreaking havoc. But that's just going to be par for the course with this team.
Yeah, if you look back at last year, if it wasn't for that 10-game winning streak, they're not making the playoffs, but that's what really put them over the edge. The other thing I noticed over the course of watching this series, Isaac Paredes is a middle of the order bat for the Houston Astros, but people on Twitter and people, that comment from different social media aspects didn't want this guy. They said he wasn't good enough. There was so many excuses. I think a lot of it had to do with what the package was going to be going back. Maybe it was Duran. And my complaint was when you have 4 outfielders, they actually have 6 if you want to count everybody. You can't play all these guys. And I did not understand why moving a guy like Duran for Paredes was such an egregious act based on what Twitter's going to tell you. Because why can the Houston Astros put him in the middle of their lineup, but he's not good enough for the Red Sox to be in the middle of the lineup or even on this team?
Ultimately, Jim, it doesn't. Who cares what Twitter says about it? Your general manager said no to it, and that's all that matters.
I know.
He said no to that deal. He didn't think it was good enough. So that's all you need to know. Whether Twitter likes it or doesn't like it, I'm sure if Twitter was around in 2004, the Nomar Garcia para trade, no one would have loved. They would have crucified Theo Epstein for it. Heck,
of course.
Without it, they were crucifying Theo Epstein for it, and it worked.
No, so I know.
It's just a matter of what other people. We're all talking heads. Who cares what we think? When the general manager doesn't think it's the right move, now that's when you criticize it. And I think from his standpoint.
But my question is,
does he have a goal?
Did he really not agree to that move? Because there's nothing out there that says that he didn't want to make the trade or he didn't want the player. So I don't know if that's actually 100% true or what. Go ahead, Nick.
I think Houston did not want Duran. I think they wanted Wilyer Abreu and more players added in. Say it was Conley Early or Tolley. And that's when Breslow said no. I think Duran was on the table, but because the Red Sox have overvalued and overrate him, other teams in the league don't look at Duran the same way that Red Sox front office does. Mm-hmm. They love the guy. They idolize him. The rest of the league looks and laughs. Ha! You want Duran? Ha! That's funny. That's just kind of what the league looks like.
My point in bringing up this conversation is because we needed a right-handed power bat, and we needed a third baseman. And there's the old adage, and even Breslow said it when he first came as a general manager in this organization, baseball ops, whatever you want to call him, and I think even Bloom said it too. We're going to have to make a trade or so that's going to hurt. And that is a trade that necessarily wouldn't hurt, but it solved a problem. And the problem was, too many outfielders and not enough good infielders in terms of power bats. And I just think it would have actually been the smartest move. Whether it was Marte, whether it was signing Bichette or trading for Paredes, my point in the whole conversation was, here you got a team, the Houston Astros, who are perennial winners. They can certainly put him in the middle of the order, but the Red Sox can't. John, is it back to our question? Is it too early? Is it still too early? Is my point, or is it time to start looking at that panic button a little bit?
I don't think that it's time to panic at all. And even so, the first 6 games of a season isn't going to be what a team is in the last 6 games of a season. Whether there's guys missing in the room, mentality's different, no playoffs are on, whatever, a ton of different variables, but I'm not really concerned as much as some people are right now with it. It's a really shitty start to the year. Not one that obviously any of us wanted to see, but they haven't even played a game in Boston yet. They played, today was the first day of April. As the saying goes, like the season doesn't really start until April 1st. And, I've been saying that the last couple of days on Twitter that today was opening day. So, and Thayer made a great point, about that, for what this team is, they're going to have these 1-in-5 stretches because they don't have the offense that can carry them, consistently on a day in and day out basis. But they're also going to have those hot streaks like they did last year that propelled them into the playoffs. So, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and, I can't tell the future just like nobody else can, but if I still had to put my money where it is, I still think that this team's definitely capable of making the playoffs, and I think that they're going to end up in the playoffs. They just have to, start finding their groove, and any sort of 20 to 25 at bat play sample size to start a season. I mean, like we saw last year with Devers, where he started 0 for 19 with like 11 strikeouts. Beginning of the year, guys are still getting, especially the new guys, whole new environment, whole new set of expectations on them. They just need a little bit more time to get going. And when they get going, things are going to look a lot better.
Speaking about playing games at home and so forth, switching gears a little bit now to the next series. The Boston Red.
Me the question.
Yeah, because I'm going to start with you on this, and just because of time. So San Diego Padres come in for the home opener for the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. Friday is going to be a 2:10 start. It's going to be Sonny Gray against Michael King scheduled. Saturday is a 4:10 p.m. game. It'll be Connolly Early against Randy Vasquez, which is scheduled. And Sunday in the third game is scheduled for 1:35. Ranger Suarez against Nick Walker Buehler. Take it away. What are your projections for this weekend series?
Walker Buehler's going to throw a gem. You know it's coming.
He's going to tear our tits off.
Of course it is. He's going to say, F you. Look what I can do, guys, and you gave up on me. Ha, ha, ha. I know exactly what it's going to be. Ranger Suarez is going to get his blank ripped off, is what he's going to get.
So you're going for a sweep or 2 out of 3? What's your flavor?
I'm feeling it's 2 out of 3. I want to just be nice because that's how I am. I want to be a nice guy for once in my life. I'm going to give.
So San Diego winning 2?
San Diego will take 2 out of 3, I will say. Remember, though, the biggest thing, it's Don's coming home, so I hope that he gets a standing ovation and cheer. That would be music to my ears.
Fair, what are your predictions for this weekend series?
I'm going to be positive. Home cooking. I think the Padres are a little overrated. I think the Sox are going to take 2 out of 3.
Okay. Which 2 do you think they're going to win, in your opinion?
I think we're going to take the home opener. And then I do think we're going to see the Walker Buehler of last year, and we're going to win the third game.
John, same question to you. 3-game series. What is your projections?
Last time I said the Red Sox were going to sweep a team, they won a game. So I'm going to say Red Sox take all 3 in this one. And wow. I think that I think that let's see here. I think in that third game, bold prediction. I think that Walker Buehler doesn't get out of the first inning on Sunday. Nick, I'm scared. I don't know if you're laughing at me for what I don't know if you're with me or laughing with me or laughing against me here.
Oh, that's the funniest thing I've heard all week.
So I'm going to take the Red Sox winning 1 of 3 games. I'm going to go with the Connolly Early start. I think he has in this series the best stuff. I'm not a Sonny Gray fan. I don't think he can pitch in Boston. His track record has not been good in Boston when he was a visitor. And I don't think he's going to do well on Friday. Ranger Suarez, I think it's going to be probably a toss-up game. I don't think either Suarez or Buehler is going to factor into that final decision.
I'm crying.
So I will take the early game. I will take the early game. Time for comments. Let's see how this goes. Let's see what we got for today. Joe Carter, what is this? Love Joe Carter. Toronto Blue Jays, San Diego Padres, 1992, 1993. Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
I'm sweating. Hold on a second.
This guy here, I want John to use me as his personal human toilet.
Oh God, don't we all?
I'm not quite sure why that is even a thing. Groovy Weenie says, much agreed, Jim. Thank you very much. Betty, YouTube didn't notify you again. I did have it scheduled, so I'm not quite sure why that happened, but it was on the schedule. Nick, the bulk of the finger pointing to be pointed big time at Breslow. Absolutely. Nick?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, but you got to go to ownership first. Ownership. Then it stems down to, I would say, Breslow from there, and then your coaching staff. That's Cora and his misfits.
Yeah. Betty again says Alvarez makes that entire lineup better. We don't have anyone right now like that. We don't. Our hope is Anthony turns into it, but I don't see that happening. And funny enough, Yordan Alvarez is Dodger property. He was originally in that deal. I think for James, who was Big Game James? Wasn't he involved in that deal? I think it was. I'm not quite sure.
James Shields?
If you're talking, James Shields was Tatis, I thought.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was. But who was Alvarez traded for? Maybe somebody could look that up.
I'll look it up.
He was Dodger property, which kills me because they just pump out guys like it's nothing, and they pumped out a guy like him too. So it's just unbelievable that it just continues on with them.
Josh Fields.
Okay. Red Sox were okay with trading Duran for Paredes. Astros wanted William more than Duran. Yeah, probably right. I think Thayer commented on that before or something like that. But again, where there's a will, there's a way. It's just unfortunate that we didn't get another power hand to bat. Betty, then they'll should have resigned Bregman or gotten Alonso. I mean, that's what we should have done all offseason. That was the playbook. They go out and they'll spend 5 years and $150 million on Ranger Suarez. It's a team that is so afraid of long-term contracts for pitchers in their 30s, but then they won't give Alonso the extra year or give Bregman the no trade clause. I just think it's ridiculous. Betty says that Buehler's probably going to no-hit them. That would be funny. I think I would laugh the entire time. She also says, only listen to Don Orsillo. I had enough of OB in my life. I think we're all at that point.
Yep. And Will Fleming, too.
Moving around a little bit more. Why is Alex Cora escaping the blame?
Not.
5 out of 6 years Sox have had a bad start. That's a manager preparation. Cora doesn't do it. I mean, Nick, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I railroaded him tonight. You heard me when I spoke. If you didn't hear the conversation that I told you, I'm done. So as far as I'm concerned, Cora's fired tonight if I'm the guy. But that's how I am. Cora should have been gone after the 2022 season. To be fair, I'll be fair on it at least. But he should not be here anymore. He shouldn't. And Pete Fatsi and his whole entire staff, goodbye. I don't want you anymore. Goodbye. It's time to move on. New blood, new people, new approach. The approaches that we have are god awful and have to stop now.
If I could butt in there, I think that we've all it's been, Nick, you've really hammered like everybody from John Henry at the top all the way down to the janitor, but I think the players deserve a decent amount of blame too. They're the ones on the field. They're the ones acting. Obviously, Cora definitely deserves something. He's the one that's supposed to have these guys prepared, but he can't make a guy not strike out in a situation. So the players at the end of the day have to be held accountable also. But I agree. I'll agree to disagree with that.
Well, who's accountable for the poor defense over the last 5 or 6 seasons? Because being a middle infielder like Alex Cora is, you think he would have a really high desire to make sure that his players can play good defense. And I'm telling you, it's a circus watching them, in the infield night in and night out.
That is the people who are managing in the minor leagues, the development. They haven't developed players. When a guy gets to the major leagues, they're not going to turn him into like a phenomenal defender. The guy has to focus on it. Like you're only going to see like Wade Boggs was an anomaly. He wasn't the greatest defender, but he worked and he worked and he worked and he worked and he worked to become a Gold Glove defender.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, when they come up, they can do it or they can't. Roman Anthony is never going to be able to throw the baseball effectively to get guys out. He might improve his arm a little bit, but he is not going to be a good defensive outfielder. It doesn't matter how much work you do with him. He's just not capable of it. He hasn't been developed enough as it is. At this level, they're not working on, like high school, infield drills all the time and stuff like that. They just don't.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, on John's point quick. Players, absolutely, you have to hold accountable as well. We have a bunch of dummies on this team that have the IQ of probably a grapefruit, probably, or a raisin or something like that. It's that bad. But there was one thing today that maybe Alex Cora is starting to show something different, and that was the benching of Carlos Nevarez, which we didn't get into. I don't know if we want to talk about that.
Yeah, we're getting into it just before the end of the show. Groovy Weenie also says, yep, the players are half the battle. I agree, John. And then TD here, just quickly, Alex Cora has to live up to his cockiness and always blaming GMs. Should we look at Alex Cora? He burned Christian Campbell and ruined the bullpen 2 years on the road. What has Alex Cora done since the World Series? I put a tweet similar out to this today. I think it was, or maybe yesterday. I'm not an Alex Cora guy. He came here. He was a hired gun. He had a championship caliber team. A 5-year-old could have won with that team in 2018. Since then, he's okay, but he has a lot of blaming for other people. The roster is the roster. You've got some insight in that core. And I understand that ownership makes the final decisions, but they're still spending money. If they're spending money stupidly on players like with these reclamation projects year in and year out, you're spending $100 million since 2020 on guys that really didn't give you anything at all over the course of those 5 years. So Paulie, our good friend Paulie, I love you, Paulie. Other than 2018, this team is never ready to start a season. That's on Cora. Yeah, well, it starts off every year, 1-4, 1-5, botching the ball around. I mean, it's just, I don't know what they're doing to make sure that they have, these intangibles. They're just not playing very smart. Couple more here. Okay, let's go on to final talking point of the night. Is on Christian Vasquez. It was reported today, that he was benched for undisclosed reasons. A lot of people are saying that it's disciplinary. Cora would not use that word, but just really quickly, 30 seconds, everybody. I'll start with you, John. What do you think this is all about, and is it an issue? Is Alex Cora, is he losing his players?
I wouldn't say that. We came to find out, I think it was either today or yesterday, that the whole Cora and Marcelo Meyer back and forth during spring training was because Meyer showed up late a couple times to camp in the morning. So, Cora said, all right, your roster spot's not guaranteed. So I think I don't want to speculate what it was, what the reasoning was behind it, because, I don't want to put out information that might not be true, but if it's something that we see again, then I'll definitely raise an eye to it. But for one day, I don't know what the answer is. So I can't really, I can't put any, definitive answers on it.
Yeah. Hopefully find out more from guys like Chris Cotillo or somebody else. Thayer, your thoughts on Narvaez?
We didn't hear anything about him at all last year, other than he was, they were concerned he was trying to play too much. We talked about how he might have gotten hurt and played through the injuries. There was never any question about his sort of love for the game or for the team. So this is probably just a minor thing, and it's just big because the team sucks right now, and they're sort of making a big deal out of it.
Nick,
but hey, we got the better catcher in the game. Wong is an offensive monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has more RBIs now than he had in June of last year.
Some are saying that's better than Mookie Betts.
Well, he was in the Mookie Betts trade, sure.
Don't get
Nick.
me going again.
Nick, you're
I already
your
took my red fleece off. That's as far as I go.
Nick, your thoughts on the Navarez incident? Let's call it.
I don't even know if it was for being late. There was a lot of speculation. We don't know the exact story here on this, but what I do know is that Navarez was being used for whatever happened here as an example. Cora looks at him as a leader for running the pitching staff and being a guy to do the right things. From everything what we have heard from reports, he's one of those guys that's there early, who does all the little things right, works hard, is always prepared, and has learned under the tutelage of Jason Varitek. So whatever happened here, I think stems from more of spring training. I do know one of the players that was late few times was Marcelo Meyer, and Ranger Suarez. His name is also there. Brian Bayo was a part of that too. So they used the WBC as an excuse in a way to say they weren't prepared, but really it was because there was some internal things going on in this clubhouse with this team. So yeah, this is we need to watch this very carefully to see what's going on with this crew, because I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like what's being reported. This could be a colossal disaster of a roster that's been built. Thank you, Craig Breslow.
Interesting on the Meyer situation. I know that anybody that listens to Felger and Maz, they commented on it quite a number of times in the spring here that Meyer was, busy playing too many video games, wasn't prepared, was late.
Lazy,
lazy, and just that California yo dude type, affirmation. So I don't know, if that's again, if that's kind of what's going on, then what is Cora doing? What is the staff doing? If they're letting that stuff kind of not, if they're letting it happen, that's not good. There needs to be a little bit more.
Reminds me of chicken and beer.
Yeah, the chicken and beer thing. And it's so funny how all this happens with this organization. It's unbelievable. You don't hear about this stuff happening with any other organization. I mean, not to this degree, year in and year out. I mean, David Price playing video games, Fortnite, the situation with Dennis Eckersley on the plane. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
How about the situation with Jim Rice when the coaching, the hitting coaches told Jim Rice, mind your own business and get lost.
Yeah, a Hall of Fame outfielder. Yeah,
that tells me everything I need to know about what is going on with this coaching staff.
And I bet you right now, none of these guys could even come close to doing what Jim Rice could do at age 70, whatever he is. Probably could hit better than
Jim Rice. I would take my bat and clobber them all.
I know. He probably could do better now.
Probably kick the living blank out of them all.
Exactly. So that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I'd like to thank the panel, John, Thayer, and Nick, for joining us. I'd like to thank everybody that did chime in for comments. Before we wrap up, just want to go over our star of the game. We have this new segment that every time we are live on the air during the season, the game that's played right before it starts, I will have a tweet out for the star of the game. And all you have to do is pick who you think the star will be for that particular game. And by the end of the season, whoever has the most points for, correct choices will win $100 gift card to the MLB Shop Red Sox store. So we're happy to give that away. Tonight's star of the game is Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa with the 3-run home run against Garrett Crochet. So it's funny, since I've started the star of the game, not one Red Sox has qualified. So maybe some of our listeners and watchers should start choosing the other team. So again, San Diego is in town, so you may want to look up their roster. Have a good night, everybody, and we will talk to you on Friday after the home opener.